Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Video Mail for the week of August 3rd, 2015. Welcome to the site, to you new members, and welcome back to the old members. The Ask Video Mail is your chance to get your question in character, animation, or performance answered in a video just like this one. But I need your question. If I'm going to answer it, please send it to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think that will help the most people. No such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. It is going to be a crazy month. Got to get my game all wrapped up and uploaded to Steam. Pretty much decided that we're going to do early access on the game, and chugging along, churning and burning and turning on our feature film. So just so much going on. I would say about probably 2 weeks to go to hear back at least the first part of that big piece of news. So keep those fingers entirely, completely intertwined and crossed, and whatever, whatever you can do to bring some good luck our way. We need it. But other than that, still just doing our thing. I think you will be happy with the July and August lecture is a two-part series. I had to wait for August to record it, to record the July. I know it seems a little bit weird, but you'll see why. It's because I'm doing an 11-second club shot, and I'm using tempo for phrasing, and so I wanted to also engage the 11-second club community, show them tempo, and I felt like probably I wouldn't be able to get anybody interested at all unless it was for the current competition. So that's why there was a delay. But at any rate, you have that lecture now, so we'll just move forward. All right, check out the question this week. That's a great question. More and more animators are going to encounter this problem because there's just more superhero movies, superhero culture. I mean, it's basically taken over. It really has. There's a new movie every couple of months where you have like a flying character. It used to be you had to wait, once per year to see a movie that was like sci-fi or fantasy. Not anymore, man. Yeah, flying characters all over the place. And I have an opinion on this. I think that that you'll find that if you look back on all of these films, you will see a lot of stylistic choices. And I can't speak for those stylistic choices, but I can speak to what I think works in animation. And I think it was best achieved, honestly, most recently in the Avengers Age of Ultron with the Vision. Too often, a flying character will look like there is way too much bobbing up and down going on in the air. And the problem with that is with flight that is not motivated by any sort of like physics. Like, for instance, if you were flying, you'd have to flap your wings for as long as you wanted to stay in the air, right? Otherwise you'd just sink. If you are if you have a jetpack like the Rocketeer, again, the Rocketeer, I'm not sure if he ever hovered in that entire movie. I don't think he did. But specifically hovering is a very difficult flight task. Not very many birds can hover. Normally it's relegated to the insect world. A couple birds can hover. But let me just kind of quickly illustrate a point here for you guys. If you have a character who's supposed to be up in the sky and they're hovering, the main thing that your audience is going to latch onto is how much it looks like they are willing this to happen. Okay? In other words, if there's not thrust, if there's not something pushing down that makes them stay up, then why is this return to Earth happening and then being willingly resisted and pushing them back up into the air? Okay? So let's just imagine in your head that flying, you have to actually like stop thinking about, like you couldn't think of like a math problem while you were flying. Like that's how much brain power it takes. That almost makes more sense than anything else, because if you had to like really actually concentrate to fly as a superhero, then it would make sense that there would be a lot of hovering, right? Let's say in your mind you're like like really like trying and like using your brain power to like lift you off the ground. That's what this would look like. The amount of bobbing that he's doing. It's not necessarily the weight that is being communicated here. The weight of the character. It's not, and certainly the speed of the gestures. You don't want them to like slow down if they are heavier, because there is almost the effect that you'll get is that it'll look like they are actually like floating in like thick liquid. Okay, so how do you kind of combat this? Well, I think it was done the most successfully in Avengers: Age of Ultron. Just make sure that my mic isn't clipping here. Avengers: Age of Ultron by the Vision. And the reason was because right when he got control, like he's like born and then like he flies out and he like hits this window and then realizes that like, oh, okay, I'm okay here. And then he goes completely calm, and there is, if anything, there is just a breath. Just a breath. Let me isolate this. Even that's too much. There's just a whisper, just a to his movement in the air. Even that's too much. That might also be too fast. Is another one of these another one of the problems here. Uh, 31. Yeah, I know that's subtle, but there you go. And that still is probably too much. And then, to convey the weight and the strength of the character, this is what you do. You don't make them move slowly. You just make it so that you make them move very quickly. But you make it so that you show how much weight they have by the forces of nature that are applied on top of their movement. So, for instance, you have him go from this. Okay, actually, let me delete all this. You have him go from this into like a pose where he's about to punch. Okay? I could probably do this a lot faster just with my body. Okay? You have him go from that calm sort of hovering mode into like the anticipation for a punch. Okay? And have that happen almost instantaneously, showing that his muscles and just the strength and the power and the weight there is so much. All right, so if he's just hovering there and then he's about to punch somebody, boom, he goes instantly into that. But in the flight, all right, he goes like in one frame into that, but then have his body stay completely still, but the entire body in air reacts to that. Moves back a little slowly. So you might have like a 10, 12 frames of anticipation, but it's like one frame of body and pose change, and then like 10 or 11 frames of like the whole body working together, but in air. Like he moves so fast and so strong and heavy that even the act of flying willfully with your mind, like it takes a lot of willful mind flying to resist like how much inertia that just created. And then he flies forward and punches the bad guy. Right? That was how it was kind of done. It was nearly instantaneous movement. But then the forces of nature, real physics and body mechanics as they would exist for like a hovering object, were then applied. And it was almost the juxtaposition. It was almost like the difference between those two timings and movements that made it so damn good. That's what you need to focus on. So we've done some flying or some hovering creatures in the past here at Arconics, and really I think that was probably done the best, and I think from now on that's going to be like the standard that I measure stuff up against, because he really did feel for like kind of unique in the clarity that the power behind that character was really conveyed well. So that would be my answer on that. With as in with everything, experimenting is so super important, and keeping your keyframes very economical as long as possible so that you have those quick iterations that you can do and really hone in is very important. So tempo is great for that. So doing a flying, a shot where someone's flying with tempo, very, 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 very good. So give it a shot. Don't just take my word for it, guys. Try things out, experiment, see what's working for you, and then go back in. Remember, when you're experimenting, it's kind of it's super easy to do like 10, 20 different versions, when you have like 4 keyframes that you're moving around. Then go back into the keyframes and say, okay, this was the best choice. What really ends up happening in the curves themselves? Like, let me try to dissect these curves and see, like, animation wise what's happening. Not just the impression I'm getting from the screen, but animation wise what's actually happening here. Oh, a long anticipation, or a short follow through, or whatever. That's all part of the process of learning and experimenting. Great question. Remember, guys, I love seeing your questions. Send them to that address and I will read through them all, and we'll have a great time. Thanks a lot again. I'm Kenny Roy. Good luck with your animation. As always, rock on.